Hi, my name is Larry Jordan, and welcome to this Power Up webinar taking a look at the fundamentals of Final Cut Pro 10. I've covered this in my video training, and I've written a little bit about it, but I haven't really put all of these different concepts in a single spot at a single time. This webinar is designed for people that are just getting started with Final Cut and looking to make sure they've got their systems optimized, their preferences set, and make sure they're creating events and projects in the right fashion. That's what we're going to cover, the fundamentals of getting started with Final Cut Pro 10. What I want to cover today is to show you how to configure your system for Final Cut Pro 10. Show how and where to create a new event, where media is stored, and how to manage it. I'll show you how to create and modify a new project and how to import media, including how to configure preference settings and explain when to edit media natively, when it should be optimized, or when you want to create proxy files. On my system, I have multiple hard drives. The one that I use for editing is called my second drive. When I open up the second drive, there are several folders here that are relevant to Final Cut. Notice this one called Final Cut Events. Final Cut Events is the containing folder that stores all events that I have access to inside Final Cut. Final Cut Events-Hidden is a folder that I created. Inside Final Cut Events Hidden are all the events that I don't want Final Cut to display at this point in time. There's lots of them, and the reason is if I'm not going to use the media from that event, I don't need to tie up Final Cut resources to track the media for an event that I'm not going to be using. Now let's say that I want to take this graphics test and I don't want it to be accessible to Final Cut. Simply drag the folder called Graphics Test in the Finder into Final Cut Events Hidden. At this point, when Final Cut opens, the only event that it's going to show is the drama folder. If I decide that I want to bring the graphics test back again, grab it from the Final Cut Events Hidden folder and drag it into Final Cut Events. And now it's accessible to Final Cut. During startup, Final Cut polls the Final Cut Events folder and, farther down, the Final Cut Projects folder, and it says there's a project that I need to load. Here's all the other projects that I could load, but I don't have access to them right now. I've got dozens of projects that I've created that I don't load into Final Cut because I'm not working with them at that point in time. So the folders that we pay attention to, Final Cut Events stores all of the events that we want to have accessible inside Final Cut. Final Cut Projects stores all the projects that we want to have accessible inside Final Cut. And if we want to move it out of Final Cut so Final Cut doesn't see it, you quit Final Cut. Then move the event to Final Cut Events Hidden, or move the project to Final Cut Projects Hidden. What I want to do first is I want to get myself ready to edit a new project. So I'm going to create a new event. An event, remember, is a collection of media. The very first thing you do when you're ready to create a new event is to select the hard drive that you will want the event to be stored on. In this case, I'm storing the event to my second drive. In other words, Fusion drives and SSD drives should be used for your operating system and should be used for your applications. They're not really going to help a whole lot when you're working with media. The media that we play, we only play it once. We play that clip once and then we move on to another clip and move on to another clip. We're never taking advantage of the fact that once a file is loaded into an SSD, it's able to play it back over and over and over very quickly. Okay, so the first thing I do is I select the drive that I want to store the new event to. Remember, an event is a collection of media. Go up to File and say New Event. Keyboard shortcut is Option N. It then creates a new event on the hard disk that was selected at the moment when I created that event. We can rename this event, so I'm going to just drag across it and we'll call it Larry's Event. And because Larry loves trains, we're going to be ultimately capturing some railroad footage into it. So notice that I've created the event here. If I wanted to rename the event, just click it again and we'll call it Railroad Media. So you can rename an event by clicking on it. We can move events. Let's say that I want to move this event. Well, we select the event we want to move, go up to File, go down to Move Event. What a move does is it makes a copy of the event in a new location and then deletes it from the old location. So where do I want it stored? I'm going to store it to my Macintosh HD. This has been an excerpt of a recent Power Up webinar covering the fundamentals of Final Cut Pro 10. For the complete version of this online training, please visit our store at larryjordan.biz/store and look for Webinar 88. By the way, membership on our website is a great value. Do you need to stretch your training dollars? A subscription membership to our video training library saves you money. At an incredibly low monthly price of only $19.99, you get more than 500 movies, dozens of hours of training, all in-depth and up-to-date. Plus, members can attend any of our Power Up webinars for free. Our training covers Apple, Adobe, and Autodesk software. We update it every week, and for more information, visit larryjordan.biz/subscriptions. Thanks.